This program is intended for informational purposes only and does not contain medical advice. As always, please contact your physician or qualified healthcare provider with any questions regarding a medical condition. Hot and Bothered podcast. Welcome to another episode of Hot and Bothered with Melyssa Ford. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am joined by a guest today that I have been salivating. Oh, okay. They don't know you're here yet. Okay?
Carry on.
Salivating to interview. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge how wildly intimidated I am to conduct this interview because I am sitting here with one of the biggest icons in media. She's literally on my Mount Rushmore of women in media. And I'm going to tell you exactly who is also on that Mount Rushmore with you. But without further ado, I'm sitting here with Miss Angie Martinez.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
You won't clap. It's okay. There's a whole... Oh, she's got a feet her round of applause, a standing ovation.
We got people in the room. We've got a beautiful set with a little charcuterie and little daisies running around.
Yeah, I mean, like I hit Brit and we were just like, what does Ange love?
I had all my things. You had a charcuterie with the honey I like, yes, and then my little cocktail with my ginger beer.
Mm-hmm. It was either the wine, because I know you like wine. It was either wine and sushi.
I too, but lately I've been having a weird wine thing. I don't know. It's not landing the way it used to land.
Same.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's to do with
getting on.
You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. Now I have the red wine and it could be super high end, like, yeah. And I get like my throat starts getting tight and I get a headache immediately. And it kind of bums me out.
Same thing because I was a wino.
Me too.
Like I
don't know that I was a wino, but I enjoyed a nice wine.
No, I liked traipsing through, Napa and like going to Montecito and like going to the vineyards and stuff. Now I'm just like
bougie. You're so bougie.
I am a little bougie. I am a little bougie. Okay, so I've already told you that this is wildly intimidating.
Why? That's so nuts. So you're at this point are a media maven yourself at this point. Like, knock it off. Like,
but you are just like I said, you're on my Mount Rushmore. So can I tell you who else is on my Mount Rushmore?
Yes, who else?
Oprah.
Of course.
I think she's on both of our Mount Rushmores.
Absolutely.
You, Barbara Walters.
Oh.
And Christian Amanpour.
Wow. That's an interesting group.
It's an interesting group.
I don't even know who's on mine. I never really thought about that.
Well,
Oprah for sure.
Yeah, she's like the Bible kind of thing,
Yeah.
But who else would be on your...
Oh, gosh. She's like a hard question.
No, I mean...
Because this is one of those questions that later you go, oh my God, why didn't I say that? I love that person.
Well, here's the thing. So when it came to me becoming a media personality, because I've been so many things, like you've been so many things, I started to think to myself, because I didn't go to school for journalism, like I know you didn't go to school for journalism. Sure. So who do I pattern myself after? And so I started to think of who do I value in their space, who really like kind of occupies the space as like the upper echelon of talent. And, Christian Amanpour, she was a war correspondent for CNN. And I mean, like just, before Anderson Cooper, she was it.
Yeah.
She was so compelling and she just could really just narrate a story on people who lived on the, antipodal, side of the earth and make you feel like you connected to them. And that is a gift.
Yeah.
Barbara Walters, she had that 10-year anniversary or end of the year thing where she did the 10 most fascinating people. And they weren't necessarily the most famous, but she hand selected them because they had done something that was worthy of being highlighted, and she just has that distinct way of interviewing with a gentle voice. And
Barbara Walters was not gentle. I don't know who told you that.
No. I'm only talking about on screen.
Oh, okay.
And I know because you went on The View a couple of times when she was still there. But she was, just in terms of how she interviewed, she had a very delicate voice and a very, she wasn't afraid of silence. She wasn't afraid of pressing pauses. And she was a pioneer.
Yeah, for sure. No, she's for sure a pioneer, 100%.
And then there's just Oprah, and that's all you have to say.
Oprah is like, she sits there by herself to me.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Diane Sawyer.
I know that we out.
Robin Roberts, I like a lot. You know who I like? The girl. I don't know if she's like a big journalist, whatever. But I like when people are. I feel like they're being honest about who they are and they're comfortable in their skin and they have a unique perspective. Remember that girl? She used to be on The View, Lisa Ling.
Yeah.
And she used to do a lot. I used to love the way she would cover different stories, and then she went off and did something. I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Mount Rushmore or not, but these are just people that I like. Diane Sawyer. I like to feel like people are, I don't know, good human beings. And it's like when I hear a story, I want to know from this person's perspective.
Yeah.
Because I trust this person. Because I trust that they are, they're a good human. They have an honest perspective. And I think Diane Sawyer really kind of embodies that for me. And then Oprah is like, she just changed the game in terms of like the way she delivered information to us in a way that like we all wanted to be better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
There's things to criticize about Oprah that people do all the time. And there's things that Oprah said or done that I don't love, but I love her.
It's true.
And I appreciate the immense amount of influence she's had on my life,
Yeah.
whether I agree with her on certain things. And I hated when she started talking about hip hop and her perspective on it. I was like, no, please, just please. But that's her perspective in life. I still appreciate her and love her, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, those women are the ones that come to mind first, I guess.
Yeah.
And foremost.
One of the things when I was, just an avid watcher of
And Gail, we love Gail.
love Gail.
Yeah.
I was an avid watcher, like most every woman was, of the Oprah Winfrey Show, and you just kind of you didn't really like kind of notice what her style was. You just listened to her and you just just kind of were like captivated and drawn in. But there was a day where I figured out the secret sauce.
To Oprah?
Maybe just a little bit of the sauce.
I'm curious.
Okay. So she had Faith Faith Hill on her show. And Faith Hill is all the things. She's a successful country artist. She's stunningly gorgeous. She's really nice. She has the reputation of being just a really nice, kind human. She's also married to Tim McGraw, who's universally fine. And I don't care what you like in life, like what your thing is, you're going to look at Tim McGraw and be like, he's handsome, And so Oprah conducted the interview and she almost created this, she created for the audience, like a picture as to what it would feel like to be married to Tim McGraw. So it's almost like every single woman in the audience
Had
was
that
married. It had the experience of being married to Tim McGraw. And there was a nice balance of not making Faith feel like this is the only reason why you're here because your husband's hot. But it's also understanding that this is also a part of like what makes her life so interesting and also like the fairy tale. And I was like, oh,
I think that's one of the things.
it's one
For sure, one of the things. I think for me the Oprah thing is that she and it's the thing I take from her, right? It's like, how do you learn something from every situation? How do you teach something in every situation? I think about that in anything I do. It's like, what do people get out? What is the takeaway for people? What are people going to get out of this? What am I going to get out of this? I don't want to just do something. Can I curse on here? Is this like
curse up a storm?
I don't want to just do some shit just to do some shit. I'm definitely, even the other day, we were doing like a TikTok at the station, and I was like, everybody already did that. What are we doing that's new with it? They were like, it's TikTok. Who cares? And to some point, they're right, because sometimes I overthink things. But like, also like, okay, well, how do we elevate it, or how do we make it more than what everybody else is doing? Like, I'm always thinking about that. And the thing with Oprah is that I think she left us with so many takeaways that we use in our lives. I mean, even if you don't realize you do, you do.
Yeah.
Even the term live my best life. Thank you, Oprah. That's Oprah's. You know what I mean? Like she gave us, if that was the only thing she gave us, that is tremendous.
Yeah.
But there was so many things like that she kind of infused for us to take away in our own lives and use in our own lives. So to me, that's what makes her the GOAT.
Yeah. The last interview that I saw her do with Meghan Markle, was she asked this question, and she, in regards to all of the difficulties, putting it lightly, as to what she experienced during her time in the UK, being married to Harry. And she asked her, were you silenced or were you silent? I was like, bars? else.
No, she's a smart lady. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
No, she's brilliant in that sense. Like she's like you like words. Oprah likes words. Yeah. I wish I was better at that. I'm not good at that. Words is not my thing.
They're not.
I like them. I appreciate them. I try to find the right ones for certain occasions. Like when I'm writing, especially. But you know, I say whatever's however it comes out, whichever.
You are eloquent. You are very eloquent in
I
your.
don't always speak proper English. It's okay. I'm fine with that.
The balance that you strike is like incredible. But I also have to give you your flowers for something else.
Uh-oh.
You inspired this.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why and how and when.
I love that.
So we were at Joe's birthday dinner, right? And
this story. That's right. I remember that. Okay.
I was sitting next to Angie, and it was lit. Like Joe's 44th birthday.
That was a good time.
Lit.
Finger was there.
Goldie.
Yeah.
He's my favorite DJ, hands down.
He's in my top list, not my favorite. So shout out to Clark Kent.
He's my favorite just because of my when I first moved here. He was like the first DJ I ever heard. Like he was at Obed.
No, he's a phenomenal.
Yeah. So he's like,
no, he's phenomenal.
He's been with me on like my journey.
When I walk into a party, he's there. I'm happy.
Yes.
Great.
Because it's going to be a great night.
Yeah. It was one of those nights.
Yeah, it was. So we're at Catch Steak. It's the Cabana room. So there's like there was like 85 people there. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And so me and Angie are sitting next to each other. And I'm telling her all about, the concept of my podcast.
She was so excited. She's like, I'm launching my podcast.
Yeah. And I was like, this is
great. I'm so excited.
Yeah, but then I told you what the name was, and I had co-host. You were like, yeah, I hate the name. I hate the name. I don't like the name. It's totally limiting. You're going to alienate so many of your young people.
You didn't know what the name was?
I don't want to give it any attention.
Well, because they know what the name was. And I was like a bad person.
No, not even a little bit.
All right, but you should tell people what the name was gonna be. Or no, you don't want.
They know what the name was. They know what the name was. I just don't want to highlight it.
Oh God,
it's gone through some legal stuff.
Oh God,
it got. So, anyways, you were like, I hate the name. It's too limiting for you. You have young women fans that can't really.
You have something to offer to.
Exactly. Yeah. And talking about just menopause in this stage of your life will alienate them. And I was like so married to the name. I was like, no, Angie, I swear it's gonna be great. And you're like, yeah. And also the co-host thing, I think you could do it yourself. And I was just like, oh my God, why do people keep saying that? I did not.
I'm glad you took it well, because not everybody. Back in the day, people used to tell people used to ask me to listen to their albums, and I'd be like, listen, I will, but the space, I can't lie the truth, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. So if you want me to come and you're somebody who wants the thing, I will do it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be mean for no reason. Some people like to just be shocking and say something.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna give you my honest truth. And so
at this
point, life is too short to be not sugarcoating shit.
But you've always been like that. You've always led with honesty.
Yeah.
But without brutality.
Yeah.
You've always led with a sense of integrity. You present exactly who you are, like no frills, no gimmicks, no nothing. Like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to live life that way.
For real.
Yeah.
It is. So it's just like, I feel I did not take any offense to what you were saying. Even though I was married to the whole idea, I thought to myself, I was just like, okay, let me marinate with this.
This name is so much better to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I wanted to tell you that you are a part of the inspiration.
I love that.
How I've,
that makes me
kind of transitioned from that idea to this, and first season to second. And this is just like a fantastic moment for me. So
love that.
Sometimes
not everybody takes stuff to, but I'm like that. Like because I've made so many mistakes in my own career, or I'm always trying to figure things out for myself, that if I see something clear for somebody else, I feel compelled to sometimes I'll people that don't even know, I'll see somebody who follows me and they're like a content creator, and I'll shoot them hey, this segment is great, but you always post it crooked.
Yeah.
Like, you should really think about, like, I offer sometimes I'm like, yo, why don't you just mind your business? Like, that is not your business, ma'am.
I don't mean,
But if I think if it's somebody that it's gonna land well and they appreciate it, I share.
has anybody ever told you, man, mind your business? I feel like everybody would welcome some kind of like advice.
Nobody said that to me, but I don't do it a lot. I don't do it a lot.
Yeah.
But it is my nature to want to.
Same.
It's my nature to want to.
A little same. A little same. So you edit your own interviews?
Mhm.
Okay, what's that process like?
I think I just try to help people get out what they mean to get out. Like, it's really tricky too, because sometimes I'm editing, I'm like, this would be better, but that's not honest to what they meant or what they said. So I have a lot of integrity about editing because I don't want to misrepresent somebody. I don't want to have them say something that they didn't say, but I also want to help them say it in a way that keeps people's attention. So it's like, for instance, this is your book. I have a new book out, Contagious. God, that means so much to me, the book. Sometimes some other thing. And that's why I made Contagious. So I'm going to clip out all that shit in the middle and get to the point of for you, to help you,
Ready.
the nitty gritty, to help tell your story. And I think, but like I said, I try to do it with the utmost integrity, because it is important to not make people say something that they didn't say. But I definitely, by the way, people should know, everybody edits interviews, so they just usually put it in other people's hands. I am very protective about, if I put you in the chair in my podcast, I am very protective over you. I don't want somebody else making you say something you didn't say, or editing something and making you laugh weird in a point where you shouldn't have laughed. Like, little things like that make a difference. So I'm very protective of my guests. I did a show one time. It was like a TV show, right? And I booked all this talent. I could just say it, who cares? For We TV.
Yeah.
Untold Stories of Hip Hop, right?
Yeah.
I booked all this amazing talent myself. I had Cardi in my first episode, Queen Latifah, this one, that one. I had A$AP Rocky on. And there was some things that were said, and then he had gotten into some trouble in Sweden. Remember that?
Yes.
And his team was like, look, he's dealing with this thing. Can we just cut out some of that stuff that he said? And I was all the way okay with it, because what he said, we were joking about, he was talking about girls and, well, like being wild, but he was in a real life situation at that point. So for me, let's cut it out. It's not changing anybody's lives. It's not,
But the network
let it go. And they fought me really hard. And it really hurt me to not be able to protect him in that moment. Not that it was a big deal, obviously. By the way, obviously Rocky is fine.
Yeah, he's doing really great.
Just fine.
He is the envy of like 90% of the men on this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's so great. And we've had such great interviews in the past, him and I. But that moment really bothered me, like bothered my soul, for somebody to show up for me and be part of a show, and then I can't protect the end result of that. And so
That's that integrity.
yeah, it is. No, for sure. But it's also like, people are showing up for me because they trust me, because they get in the seat and they want to support me. If I can't protect what they do with that, like even Cardi came and did some interviews, and an interview for that, and there was some things that were cut up, not by just in general, after that they made it sound like she was saying something she didn't say. That shit bothers me, because I can't protect her from, and so I try to be really careful with people who choose to come share their story with me, to make sure that they're represented in the right way. So like, that's why editing is a thing for me. Like, I want to make sure that this story gets told, and I don't know, just I actually enjoy that process.
I'm gonna have to take an editing class because I am not.
Really?
I'm not technical. I can't.
That's okay. Not everything is for
I
everybody.
can barely edit a reel on Instagram.
Really? Oh no.
Terrible.
No, that's my thing, and I'm nice. I'm gonna be honest. I've been editing since.
I mean, I did our interview, and I was just like, oh my god, this shit is so good.
But you didn't feel misrepresented.
Not even like
You felt like,
God, you got all the best shit.
yeah,
You did. You got all the stuff.
yeah.
It was
So
amazing.
I
You're
always
very
hope that
talented.
everybody always feels that way.
Yeah.
And I've been editing since like fucking when we used to have a reel to reel.
I
used to cut with a razor
where you had like
That's a tape.
slices in your fingers.
We used to do a feature called Battle of the Beats. People would have to call in and be like, I vote for this song. I vote for this song. And I have to cut to make it. I vote for this. I had to cut it with a little razor blade and the tape. Like I've been editing since the 90s. So now
All the stuff that just makes you great.
it's not new.
All the stuff that
Thank you, baby.
Some of your best interviews have been when people were at their most vulnerable,
Mm.
and I think that that's what adds to your greatness is how much people trust you. You have accrued an enormous amount of currency and good faith in this
Really grateful for that.
in this industry, and there's a bunch of different interviews that you can, you know, point to that really show how people feel how people trust you in their most vulnerable moment. And it's weird to feel vulnerability as a forward facing personality or celebrity or what have you, because you really want to just kind of hide under a rock when you feel exposed like that. Like, I don't know, some scandal is broken or you've made a misstep in judgment, but now everybody has something to say about it. And people feel like the place to go is to see you because you're going to, first of all, handle them with care and respect and love. And secondly, you just have this ability to strike this really, really, really incredible balance of delivering what the audience wants, but also making your guests feel completely comfortable, like they didn't just get naked in front of everybody for nothing.
That's nice.
You
Thank
know?
you.
And
Thank you.
that's
I
a
think it's just trust and be. I think it's just about intentions, right? People like
Mm.
you can't fake some. You could be a fraud and put on a personality and do that for a little while, but you can't. I couldn't be in the game this long. People not know who I really am at this point. Like you know what I mean? Like I genuinely care about people. I genuinely don't want to hurt anybody. If I hurt somebody and I don't feel good about that. I don't sleep well at night. If something, even if it's by accident.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If something happens where something in the interview causes somebody some type of harm or something that will really bother me. I feel somewhat of some accountability for that. So I always try to be very, and I learned that early. It was a lot at stake in the 90s when we're doing interviews. Like, say the wrong shit, this goes bad. This could go bad in a way that you can't take back.
yeah.
So learning that way just made me realize like people's lives and people's stories are not to be played with. Not to say we can't have fun and not to say we can't push boundaries, but like, just responsible and care. Make sure you're not taking advantage of people, and if someone's in a bad space, like there's been plenty of times in my career where I'd be like, yeah, we're not shooting today. Um, Recently,
Mhm.
artists will come in and I could see they're in a bad way, and I'll be like, let's reschedule.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put somebody in a
That's
chair.
kind. That's really, really,
Well,
really nice.
well,
Because a lot of people will
but
be like,
I do,
money, like,
yeah, but okay, you get so what? You get
yeah,
clicks, you get a little extra money that month. Then what? That
yeah,
person you ruined that person. Then
yeah.
it's not worth it. So, and also, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I really don't want to hurt anybody.
A
So,
lot of people in this clickbaity world now,
mhm,
people can be very parasitic
mhm.
and maybe not even know that they are. So it's just rare that you find
It's not
kind
worth
of
it.
attitude.
It's not worth it. I know. I get it. I get how people sometimes they dangle the fruit. Like, if you get this many views, you're gonna get this. People are trying to find their way too. They're trying to cut through the noise, be a personality, be a whatever it is, and you got to figure out a way to cut through and make noise. So they take the low dangling fruit, which is like scandal or
Yeah.
something outrageous. But okay, when that dies down, what do you got left? You got people looking at you like you'll do anything for anything. And now I don't trust that person.
Yeah.
And so to me it was never worth it. But I also have compassion for people coming in the game now where it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I don't, I at this point I went this long without like selling my soul. I'm
Yeah.
not or trying to hurt anybody intentionally. I'm
Yeah.
not doing for sure. Fuck not doing that now.
Yeah. One of
You
the
know?
questions that I had for you was since you didn't go to school for journalism,
Yeah.
but
I tried.
you have did you?
I went to like a broadcasting school for like 5 minutes and they told me I had my New York accent when I was never gonna work. And they told me I was saying W. I was supposed to say W,
W.
and I would say like W.
W.
I don't know. I was in flop my hand. I took like the class. And I was like, yeah, fuck you, I'm not coming back. And I never went back. And also the things they were teaching in that class, I was already interning at the radio station.
Yeah.
I felt like it was like, I don't know, it just felt a little juvenile to me. And so I just never went back. And I just chose to like school. I was working in radio since 16. So
Yeah.
my school was happening in real time.
Yeah.
I
It was.
on the job training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But more so, you have the integrity and the ethics of a journalist, which I don't think anybody taught you.
Well, not all journalists have integrity, by the way. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
That's true.
I think you have integrity or you don't have integrity. I don't think journalist means you have integrity. I think
It's
you're
supposed to, because at one point it meant that, you had journalists like Dan Rather and all the old school
Yeah, I was right.
ones, Mike Nichols and whatnot. Like there was the old school journalists.
Yeah.
Who's the fact that I just said all men right now? Barbara Walters, Diane Sawyer, like all Sajida Raphael, Katie Couric. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there was a point in time in which journalism actually meant something. And I just have always been impressed with the fact that you uphold those ethics and standards
Thanks.
regardless of.
That's my mama. My mother's a super solid woman. Like,
Yeah.
she don't want to. If she goes to the store and the change was like you're supposed to get 75 cents and the guy gives her $1.70, she'd be like, "Here, you gave me the extra dollar." She's like up and up. Brittany's here. She'll be like, "Shirley's the best." My mother's like she's just a good lady.
Yeah.
She'll never do anything. You know what I mean? Like will never steal from anybody, would never, she's not a liar. She's a good lady. So when you're raised like that, that's what you know to be right.
Yeah.
And I also believe in karma so heavy.
Yeah.
And I feel like God made me in such a way that like, if I were to do something bad, 5 minutes later, the karma's coming to get my ass. Because I know better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Is that because she used to take you to self-awareness seminars?
She did that when I was a kid. You had a book, yeah. She told that when I was a kid. She did that when I was a kid. No, I don't know. It's just how I was raised. Like, you do the right thing. I'm not saying I always do the right thing.
Yeah.
My intention is to always do the right thing.
Mhm.
And I definitely don't intentionally do anything to like. I believe in karma, man. I really do. And I think, for some reason, karma comes really fast to me. Like
Good or bad?
Good and bad, yes.
Yeah.
I feel it both ways.
Yeah.
Like the energy is real. So I walk around very careful about how I move.
Yeah.
Don't you believe that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But my thoughts on karma are that it's not something that just is not a boomerang, in my opinion. Just one of my best friends, or my best friend, is Buddhist. She's a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist, where they Namyo Renge Kyo.
Oh.
And we talk a lot about karma, and how karmic retribution can be something that happens to your child or something that happens to a loved one.
Oh, that's even scary.
It is. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. But she's told me that is the principle.
I'd rather it happen to me than somebody I love.
Yeah.
Like that's because then how do you sleep at night with that?
Yeah. I mean,
That's horrible for us.
I feel like every single religion has something there that just puts the fear of
God.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really
fear of God, whomever.
I never understood that when people would say, "Yeah, I'm God fearing." I'm like, why do you want to fear God? God made you. God loves you.
God will strike you down.
Right. I do. I guess I do operate as a God fearing woman because I do fear that. I do fear, I told you I gave a Brent for Lent. I want those crackers and that charcuterie board so bad right now, but I won't do it.
Oh, good for you.
Because I'll eat. It's not even good for me. I'm not. I don't play with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I do a prayer, get on my knees and say I'm not doing something, then I don't do it. Like I don't play around with that type of stuff.
No, I totally understand. I will eat the carbs for you though.
Thank you.
But
As soon as Easter strikes, I'm Carb City. Don't worry.
I hear you. Sushi. We'll do sushi and I don't know. Can we handle sake? We could do some sake.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good stuff. So one thing I wanted to know is, I feel like whenever people ask you to do interviews, they probably just want to go down the whole history of hip hop.
Oh God,
you've been there, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that at all.
Okay.
I've been trying to curate this interview around genuine questions I have for you.
Okay.
You know,
Whatever you want, baby.
and not necessarily based on your past or, who you've interviewed in the past, even though there's some that are kind of like questions that are an offshoot of that.
That's fine. Whatever you want.
But I look at
You have so many cards.
I do.
Bitch, we don't got all that.
I know. Listen, we're gonna jump through all of this. I promise. Okay, we're gonna get the. So this is the interview portion.
Okay.
I want to know what, the interviews that are on your list.
Oh.
Who is still on your list of people that you want to interview? My list is enormous.
Really?
This has got to be a lot shorter than mine because you've interviewed freaking everybody except Brene Brown. I know that much.
I love Brene Brown. I love Martha Stewart. I love Oprah. I've never interviewed Oprah. I interviewed her like once on the carpet for like a thing for extra or whatever, but not like the way I would want to sit down and talk with Oprah. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. He was like really at the top of my list.
That was going to be my next question. And say, did you interview?
I just had lunch with his son recently, and even in the short little conversation, he was just telling me so many things, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I have so many. I told Quincy, his son, that he should be doing interviews because he's got stories to
Yeah.
But Quincy was definitely high up on my list of people. I don't know. It changes all the time.
Mhm.
Changes all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have interviewed a lot of people already.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my next questions. Like,
Is there anybody that I'm not thinking that I talk about all the time that we should say so that we could put it into fruition?
Yeah, put this into the universe. And we'll make this Instagram.
Who's on our list? We have a list. Tracy Ellis Ross.
I love you. Wouldn't interview Tracy?
Yeah, but on the radio, not on my pod.
Okay.
It's different.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's way more intimate. Way more intimate. And she is like incredible. She's on my list as well.
Anyway.
How's
Barry, I haven't done. I would love to do. I think her stories, I have
Beyonce, Rihanna.
Yeah.
It's like all the.
But I've interviewed them before.
Leslie Jones, we've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Howard Stern would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what she's gonna say. That I'll say. Well, I'll give one.
Jane Fonda. Hello.
Yeah.
I like talking to older women. I like talking to older people.
Same.
I had this interview. I had this video of my grandmother before she passed.
Mm-hmm.
We were just sitting in her living room one day, and it's funny because my grandfather wasn't well, and I had been thinking of this idea that I wanted to do these like legacy interviews where I wanted to interview my grandparents about their life and their history. And something just told me in that moment to put my phone on, and I started talking to my grandmother. And so I have that forever. And she wound up passing away it was unexpected. She had cardiac arrest, passed away at 85. We didn't know I thought she was healthy. I thought she was going to be around for a while. And so I was so happy to have that, even that little piece. But anybody that I haven't spoken to who is a legacy person, who has big life to share, wisdom. Yeah, I just like talking to older people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, doing that thing with my grandmother made me think. And I just did this at Questlove. Had this he had this Christmas party where he does the black elephant.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is? It's like a grab bag thing where everybody. So he tells you, come to this party.
Yeah.
Bring a grab bag, gift bag, but it has to be something that's unique to you, something that only you can offer. So there's a girl there who does AI, and she offered an AI class. Somebody's an artist. He painted a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, shit, what do I bring? Yeah. What am I going to do? So my gift was I'll offer you a legacy interview where I'll sit somebody down and do a full legacy interview for a family, a loved one, for yourself.
Oh, that's nice.
Whoever it was, so that you can have that for your memories, right? Like that was my gift. But I just think there's something about talking to people who are older.
Yeah.
Life is so short, and then they're gone, and piece of the history is gone. I think there's so much I don't know. I've just been interested in talking to older people lately.
I mean, let me tell you, when I started really talking to my older, girlfriends is when perimenopause hit.
Uh-oh.
Because I didn't know what.
You're like, what the hell's happening?
What's happening?
Yeah.
I need somebody to help me navigate this process because I don't know my ass from my elbow.
And we didn't come up. People didn't give us info.
No, they did not.
Yeah.
No, they did not.
Halle Berry would be the perfect guest for your pod.
I know that.
All right, come on. Let's put it in the universe.
You have no idea how much I would love to have Halle because she has made it her life's mission. As a matter of fact, Gen X, we're furious, okay? We're like, yet again, something else we have to figure out on our own. We already had the keys around our necks, had to learn how to cook at 6, not burn the house down. animals took care of us because our parents were out of the fucking house. Like, this is something else we have to learn all on our own. Nobody told us. Like, we're pissed.
Yeah.
You know, and she's rightfully so. And she's part of that. So she's definitely like super high on my list too.
Is he great?
She's going like hard in the paint. So this is what I want to ask you.
Okay.
Angie, you're really sexy.
Oh my goodness.
Like, you're really you're really sexy.
Thank you, boo. That wasn't the question I was thinking was coming.
I told you, I was really trying to think out of the box. What have people never asked her?
Yeah.
What do they focus on and what do they stay away from? Maybe because people have so much respect for you. They feel like they just want to keep everything like right up here up, and not focus on,
Everybody feels like that, but that's sweet.
Okay, so I wanted to know things about you and your idea of your own sense of like beauty, sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
We came in the game on opposite ends of the spectrum.
I know, you were like a teenage sex pop, and I was like I wanted to wear the biggest t-shirts I could possibly find so I could sit across from rappers and talk to them about their music, and they're not like trying to rap to me on the interviews. Like I literally would I would literally try to be as non-provocative, is that a word?
Yeah.
You're better with the words.
Yeah.
As possible, to avoid that. I'd hate it. It would be like, it would annoy me.
I was gonna ask if that was a conscious effort because I knew that you were just like you were like a product of your environment, hip hop. So you liked
And I like sneakers. I still do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like just like baggy clothes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's why I wondered, was it a conscious effort to keep them focused by wearing things that did not kind of show off like what's going on over here?
It was at first, but also I think I've just never been a person that leads with sexuality.
Mhm.
Like I, my mother came from a time where it was like, women were trying to not be objectified and look, that way. And so I think I was raised under that kind of, like my mother was the mother that would tell you.
Yeah.
Not that this really has anything to do with that, but just to give you like, she'd be like, if you ever go on a date, make sure you have enough money to get a cab home.
Oh, it's called Vex money.
That part.
That when you're Caribbean,
You don't want a man to just want you to, you don't want to be just objectified. And then I loved hip hop music. And then I got into this business where I want to talk to people about music. And so I really didn't want to lead with that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if I was with a man or if somebody I liked, that's a different story, And I always felt like I was private about it. I was private about that and private about even religion. I never really used to talk about that too much. Or I don't know. Just it was a lot of things that I kind of just was like, that's not for everybody. And so, but I do think at some point I was like, okay. I just want to be like I don't know. I just felt like I didn't have to wear big shirts anymore.
Yeah.
For people to take me seriously.
Yeah.
Or for people to not. Or I felt confident enough with myself that if somebody violated in any type of way or crossed the boundary, that I would know how to check them no matter what I had on or no matter what kind of energy I was giving that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like I gave myself the freedom to just
Yeah.
just be me. But I don't really think of. I mean, I like to be fly like everybody else. I like to feel good and all those things. But like being sexy to people has never been high on my priority list.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I do interviews, like I never want to be over glammed up to interview somebody else because then I feel like I'm making it about me and not the person.
Yeah.
That might sound a little weird, but like
no, that
I mean, like I'll do glam and other stuff, but I never like make it. I don't know. I just feel like my role in this 1-2 conversation is not about look at me.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the questions I ask, people try to turn the interview on me. I always want to turn it back. I've always I've always had that notion in my head that this is not about you. Mm-hmm. This conversation is about somebody else. This conversation is about something else. And so being the star of a conversation was never really like my goal. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of always how I've just carried myself. I remember my mother was in radio. You know that she used to say, she used to hate when jocks would love the sound of their own voice. She's like, this guy won't shut up. He just loves the sound of his own voice. And something about that notion, like loving the sound of your own voice, loving the way this doesn't mean you can't love yourself, but like making it too much about you was something that I just thought was not the thing to do in this moment. Now, there are times in life where it is important to make it all about you. But while I'm interviewing,
Like when you're
or
negotiating a contract.
for sure, all about me, yes. Or when I'm doing something that is for me intentionally, or planning my future, or making decisions about my career, or whatever it is, picking a partner, picking friendships, putting up boundaries, then, my needs come first there for sure. But as an interviewer, as somebody who talks to people for a living and hopefully gets people to helps people to tell their stories, I tend to not put myself first. It really wasn't until my podcast, honestly, that I would even insert my stories. And you go to old radio interviews, you're not hearing anything about what I was going through. Never did I insert my stories. Now, the podcast and real life, that was the pivot for me. It was like, okay, I do have some life lessons that I feel are worthy of this conversation and actually can connect me with people at a different level now. And so I pivoted my thinking about that, and that's the difference in the pod versus the interviews I used to do on the radio, where it's like all about the person, and now it's kind of like it is about the person, but then also like I'm contributing my experiences.
I have a thought about that as well as it pertains to the interview that you did with me.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half ago now. See, my
Daisy has a few years and
Beard and joined us. Yeah, this is a cut point. Okay, so where did I leave off? We were talking about how you feel comfortable inserting parts of your story into the interviews that you have with people, and but you're still careful. And and I think that you assess the situation as to whether or not you should. And I discovered that with my interview with you. This is bizarro world where I'm objectifying you by talking about sexy Angie.
I'm okay. You could objectify me. I'm fine.
And
People have been objectifying you your whole career. You can do it to me a little bit.
we were just having a conversation like off camera about the fact that like I literally just learned within the last few years how to see myself outside of like the male gaze. And I led to like a well, I needed therapy. But anyways, I digress. But how this is like bizarro world where I'm like interviewing you now, but the thing that I just thought was really interesting is a lot of my interview with you was focused around my car accident. And that would have been a time for you to say, "Hey, I've gone through a similar situation, where I was gravely injured." But you didn't. It seems like you really, really, it's a science where you pick your points, and I really appreciate that because okay, this is why birth for this person right here. And
Yeah, I don't want to take that moment from the story that you're telling.
yeah,
I think,
but it was real connective tissue.
no, for sure. But also on my podcast, I've already talked about my accident, and I talked about, I mean, even in the first episode, I talked about how that accident kind of launched the pod.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about it every episode. That's number one. And number two, I still come from a sensibility of like, I'm not trying to overly insert unless I feel it's of some value in the moment, or just some value overall. And if I've already told that story, I don't need to retell it. If there was something about my story that I thought would help you in the moment, then maybe I would have. But I felt it was in that moment was probably more important for you to share your story. On that level, I felt like in that moment you needed to tell that story, and also people needed to know that about you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was a side of you that people really had seen, or a lot of people haven't seen. And I was number one, I was happy that you were sharing with us, and yeah, it just didn't feel like a time, but it didn't feel like my moment. Felt like your moment.
So your accident happened in November of 2019, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's why I didn't know about it, because that's when I found out my mom had cancer. So the world pretty much stopped for me. Like I stopped absorbing information about anything. I'm still trying to do my podcast at the time and function at the high level that I needed to, even though my internal world is caving in on me. So that's why I didn't know anything about your accident.
Mm-hmm.
So in hindsight, um watching back my interview and listening to the things that I said and your reaction when I said I had incredible survivor's guilt and I felt like I shouldn't have survived. And you were like, really? And I would, now the context is added to it where I know it makes me want to ask, um, what were your feelings when this happened in like the moments, the days, the weeks, the months? Because you're going to feel a lot of ambivalent feelings, contradictory emotions
For sure.
while you're processing this incredible trauma that's happened to you.
Yeah.
But you seemed really shocked by what my reaction was to it. And it was an almost immediate reaction. So I'm really interested to find out like what your immediate visceral reactions were and how they progressed.
Yeah, I think that was shocking to me because I never felt any guilt. I never felt any guilt about surviving anything or um I was just happy to survive. I just wanted to get back to feeling me so bad. Like I wanted to feel like myself so bad and it took so long. No matter how much I wanted it was going to be time that was going to get me back to me. Like the will alone was not going to do that. So the fact that I wanted to get back to me so bad and then you saying you felt survivor's remorse, I just couldn't understand that because I hadn't no remorse. I was busy trying to like get back to me in some type of way. But I didn't what I had to realize and learn is that you're never going to get back to you cuz you is different now.
It's before
Yes.
and after.
For sure.
And they're so different.
And we spend a lot of time. There's going to be times in your life, whether you have something severe as a car accident or a death in your family that's unexpected or a divorce or whatever. There's things that happen in your life that, okay, now you have change. Now you're changed. And the longer you try to hold on to the old version of yourself, the longer it takes for you to heal.
Yeah.
Because you're like holding on to your old life and you're not even that person anymore. You're not going to feel like the old you because you're not the old you.
Yeah.
And so once I kind of understood that for myself, it was easier. I was like, okay, I don't want to move as fast anymore. I don't want to let certain things stress me out that used to stress me out. I want to say no to certain things now that I didn't used to say. I had to like shift.
Yeah.
And there's some limitations physically that I had at the time that I had to like just okay, you can't do that right now. That's why golf is such a big deal for me. I love the sport itself and I love the action, but the something about that I had the ability to swing and my back to be able to I have the luxury of moving my body in such a way that I could play a sport like that is like I think that's part of the victory for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not only are you okay,
Yeah.
but you're doing shit like this. You know what I mean? You're playing a sport that is like using your core at a strong level, and so you know, you appreciate things more. But you also have to you have to be okay with that. You're different, like you said, before and after. So I think for me, that was a big thing. But it's funny when I look back at old videos and things of that time, you forget, right? You get amnesia. You forget about those moments. Like,
Yes.
I remember that one thing that I just remembered the other day, I was like, oh man, I forgot about that. I could not watch anything on TV that could cause a siren or any type of quick, like a car chase. If anything like that popped up in TV,
Triggering.
oh my God, my whole body would react to it and I would feel sick in my stomach. I'd get really nervous when you know, anybody from my family was going out to get in the car. I had all that like anxiety built up. And so I started watching like the home channels where they fixing the houses and stuff like HGTV and all that. I just would watch that every day because it was safe. I know there wasn't gonna be no car crash. There was gonna be no sirens. I forgot that I did that for myself for like a month. That's all I watched on TV was that, and nothing that was gonna cause me any type of stress. Um, and it just gives you a sense of like, and I'm still aware of that. Like, take care of yourself. Listen to your body. Pay attention to those type of things because it may not be as traumatic as that, but you gotta listen to your body, right? And that was helpful for me to like not watch shit like that because it really did stress me out.
Yeah.
So that type of stuff happened, and then and then I was worried about. I was trying so hard to get back to myself, and then that's how the podcast happened. I was like, all these things I'm feeling like I want to talk about me for a chance. Like go back to what you were saying, like all my stuff. I didn't really insert myself.
Yeah.
Now I kind of was ready to insert myself in some certain ways. I had just found out my father was not dead. I thought he was dead since I'm 10. I just found that out. So that had happened. The car accident had happened. I was like, yeah, I need a space where I can talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And share it with people in a way. So that's kind of the podcast came. And then I already felt like, okay, I'm back on a track that feels honest and current, like right now for where I truly am in my life. I'm not trying to be like an old version of myself that I'm stuck to.
It seems like you have a healthy relationship with mourning. Mourning isn't necessarily just the death of a person.
I totally
Mourning is
I
the
totally
death
agree.
of an idea.
Oh my God,
The death of a part of your career, a death
of the world changing.
of the world. Yeah, we don't get me started about talking about death because I'm so comfortable talking about it. And I wish more people were more comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
I feel like we would be better off as
Yeah.
human beings if we had a better relationship with our mortality
For sure.
and the inevitable, that we would just kind of reframe how we think about it and approach it and that sort of thing. But I have realized just in reading your book and being around you, you have a healthy relationship with the concept of mourning, and you process information much better than the average person who still clings, like you said, to that, idea of their former selves or what they thought was supposed to happen for them in life, and shit just didn't go the way, move in the direction that they thought it was going to be, and they end up stuck or depressed or whatever the case is.
I hate being stuck. I hate feeling stuck.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is like, yes, you have to mourn things. You have to mourn. Like, okay, I loved how that used to be, but it's not like that anymore. Even when I was like, I told him to go back to the book. Like there was a time when even hip hop changed, and I had to mourn what that was. You know what I'm saying?
Leaving hot in your home.
I love that.
What it used
That
to be.
I had to mourn what that place used to be for me to be able to move on from what it now was. If I would have kept thinking it was what it used to be, I could still be there now, stuck. Not to say that anything's wrong with that. I love, but you got to let things pass. And if you need a little minute to mourn it and be sad or to acknowledge to yourself, I'm sad that changed. But be honest about something changed. Don't sit in something that's not real no more because you were so comfortable in something that is gone now.
Something that you say a lot is embrace change. You embrace change.
You have to.
And I feel like that
What's the alternative?
the alternative is die. It is.
No. The old version.
I was about to say the alternative is being a dinosaur and being regarded as a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And that is why you have adeptly moved through decades in hip hop, and you still present different versions of yourself because you move with the times. You adapt to the times.
You don't want to turn into something because it's the times.
Yeah, I don't want to novelty.
No, I don't want to be novelty, but I also don't want to do something because everybody else is doing it now. But I'm open to the universe. I'm open to what's happening now. I'm not closed up to anything different just because back then it used to be this way. So I think, but you just have to be honest about who you are, where you are with it. And so, yeah, you have to. I mean, it's not healthy for anybody to sit in an old version of themselves. It is really actually sad.
I mean, well, listen, like I read this book a long time called The Time Paradox, and it discusses our relationship with time, that there's some people who are considered to be hedonists who kind of live in the moment, don't really like to think about the past or the future. They're just like right now.
Yeah.
And then you've got the nostalgics who really can't leave the past, probably because that's where they peaked. And that was like the golden oldies or whatever the case is for them. And they just can't adjust to what is now and what's the future. It stresses them out and they do anything and everything. This is where you see like the balding, like 50-something-year-old dudes in the club trying to talk to 20-year-olds. Them.
That's a shot at somebody very specific, by the way. I don't know who it is, but they just caught a stray.
But then there's also the people who are like super like type A, and they're just like forward thinking, always thinking about the present. They have a really difficult time
About the future, right?
living in the moment.
Yeah.
Really difficult time, like kind of like looking around, and even just like when they have a moment where they should be like, just like, wow, this is great, like this is what I worked for, kind of thing. They're thinking 5 steps ahead all the time, and
Yeah.
they miss their
You
lives.
miss your life.
Yeah.
I think that would used to be me. I think the old version of me was that. Like,
Yeah.
what's next? Oh, you did that great thing. Cool. Okay. I can't even sit in it. I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, or I'm worried about what I'm going to do next. I think now I sit in moments a little bit.
What slowed you down? Was there a thing, or was it a gradual process?
What do you mean? Oh, no, it was an accident.
It was the accident
Oh,
that slowed you down.
sharp pivot, like a
Okay.
sharp pivot right there. Whereas where I had to wait a minute, and also it's not a sharp pivot. The moment of the accident is a sharp pivot, but the healing of that and the changing of my world and my life after that, which was the next 6 months to a year. That's where the change happens. Where you're like, okay, I still have big goals. Even sitting here right now with you, I have huge goals, but I also try to take a minute to like not kill myself chasing the goal and be in a moment, appreciate something that happened, laugh with my friends, jump on a flight, go see my girl in Miami for her birthday. Shout out to Lorena or whoever, or whatever it is. Like try to make sure I'm living life a little bit, stopping what I'm doing for a second to just have a conversation with my kids. Um, just a little more mindful about like, or even when something great is happening. I don't know what happened. This sounds so stupid. I can't even believe I'm referencing this because somebody else is like, that's a moment.
I want to hear it.
No, it's the stupidest
I
thing.
promise it's not going to be stupid. I'm probably gonna fucking be like, yeah, this thing should get okay.
It was probably because it was like a 1, 2, 3 thing where it was like, I was just aware the day was going pretty good. I'm working on a project that I'm writing, and writing is really hard for me. And I'm like close right there at the edge. So that makes me feel good, like the completion of something that you've been working on for a long time.
Yeah.
So I was on the high of that. And the FedEx guy came, the UPS guy came and delivered my golf clubs because they were in Miami for the weekend.
Oh, fun.
And the clubs came there, and I had just finished. The writing was going well, and I looked, and the clubs were delivered, and I just felt like life is good. I'm so happy.
The weather's turning.
The weather's turning. I'm gonna take my clubs and go. I don't know. It's something about like you're so blessed. Like I just had a moment of like life is good. You're good.
That it's so
It's
funny.
like little stupid things like that.
No, that's wonderful, because I was going to ask you about that. When you suffer a trauma like what you experienced with your car accident, you have this renewed kind of like intense feeling of gratitude about being alive
Yeah.
and surviving, and you feel like, well, let me ask you, did you feel like that feeling was going to last forever, or did you know that it was eventually going to taper off?
There was a moment, I don't remember, I think I was still in the hospital, and my mother, I just kept telling everybody how much I love you so much. Thank you.
Were you
I was so, I was so emotional. Like I was just so like, thank you. I was emo. My mother was like, this version of you is great. And I remember in that moment thinking to myself, huh, I wonder if, I don't think this is gonna I don't think this is really who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
It's like
I think it was just in the time, like, and so I think I've somewhere landed somewhere a little more like that, but not completely. I got back to myself somewhat. But also, I want to say this about trauma, right?
Yeah.
This type of thing.
Yeah.
Because like you and I, we've known each other for years, but never really knew each other well.
just, hey girl, hey.
But we were at a restaurant. It was Angela's event, and you had told me about your accident. I was like, oh my God, and we had that connection, right? So things like that connect you with people. But I've been mindful lately, to like I don't want to hold on to that too much more.
You don't want it to become an identifier.
Yeah, like okay, that thing happened and it changed you, but like that's enough.
For some people, those are the things that become a part of them.
Yeah,
That's what they lead with. That's what they walk into the room
and I was
with.
starting to do that a bit. I was looking at myself that way. Also, I had like an actual thing in my body, like a thing around my spine. I would find myself thinking about that a lot, and I don't like that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because even that is an old version of myself.
Yeah.
The person recovering from a car accident that changed her life, I think I'm moving on from that person even. It'll always be there. It's always part of my history.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be a walking around person who's like holding on to a thing that happened that was a negative thing. Turned positive. I made it positive, right? But you know what I'm saying? I've been shedding that even right now.
Yeah.
I hope that for you too. Like
Yeah.
I know you have a lot of trauma, and I just hope that you get to a point, I don't know if you are there yet, but where you you even shed that. That's to me the full circle moment. That's the moment.
It is. And, I found myself, kind of sitting in my kitchen, trying to analyze how I was feeling. And thank God for therapy.
Mm.
People feel like therapy is like really, I don't understand people being against therapy, because one of the greatest things about therapy is how it increases your sense of self-awareness. You
Mhm.
really get to know you, but you really have to be prepared for that. You got to be ready to confront
For sure.
yourself,
Mhm.
because wherever
And
you go,
that's
there you
fun
are.
to me. That's fun to
I
me.
think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. If we are not here to learn all about ourselves and
But
other things that we can,
you also, and I'm not knocking therapy in any way, you just can't, you just can't, you got to be able to be your whole self without therapy at some point. Not to say you have to ever stop,
Mhm.
but it becomes like a little bit of a crutch or a depend. I love therapy. I do it every week.
Mhm.
But I feel like I'm a self-aware person even before this.
Mhm.
I feel like I know myself, I know my weaknesses, I know that I shouldn't have did that,
Mhm.
or that was a dumb thing, or you probably did that because of, like, I'm just in my head that way, so I'm pretty self-aware. To me, therapy, like, I'll check in, like, is there anything you see there?
Yeah.
It's like it's somebody to bounce something off of, and every now and then, it's not a lot, every now and then she'll tell me something, and I'll be like, oh shit, I do that. I never realized it. And that's so much fun to me when we could discover something that I didn't already know about myself.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be in a space where I need therapy to be happy, or I need therapy to feel connected to myself.
Yeah.
And I do think it does, for some people, could become a thing where it's like a dependency on it.
I think that those people are career patients.
Yeah,
And they're not, they're really not there to try to fix anything. They really, this is another codependent relationship that they're developing with their therapist.
Yeah.
So for me, my therapist and therapy is like filling up the gas tank.
Mhm.
So like it's just like, oh, the gas tank is full.
Yeah.
I'm good. And then when I feel like the gas tank is getting to E, I'm just like, I need a check-in. I need a tune-up. Or
That's
yeah,
smart.
that's what it is for
I
me.
agree.
You know.
I'm similar like that. I think it's a guaranteed time.
Mhm.
If the week gets away from me, if I put too much time into my partner, my kids, my career, it is a guaranteed 1 hour a week that, bitch, you looking at yourself. At least if you don't do it for the rest of the week, which you should be.
Yeah.
But if for some reason the week gets away from you, I'm guaranteed that 1 hour where I got to be like, okay, what's up with you? You good? Why did you do that? It's just a guaranteed time for me to check in with myself. Sometimes I don't. Lately, I've been skipping some weeks here or there because I feel pretty in touch with myself.
Yeah.
But I like my therapist too as a woman. She's dope, and so sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes I'll hop on with her and I'll ask her an opinion about something that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, sometimes it turns into like a 45
If you're
minute
lucky,
session.
if you're lucky, you find somebody that you just think is smart, and I pick her brain about stuff for the pod sometimes and things like that. But
That's same with me. So the book is almost 10 years old.
I know it's crazy, right?
Came out in May 20.
Is that 10? Holy shit!
It's almost, because we're in 2025, so we're almost at the 9-year mark for your book.
Perfect. Now it's time to make a movie, guys. Let's go.
I was about to say, what? Yeah, clap it up. What made you think that a memoir, that was the time to write a memoir? People are really funny about the whole memoir conversation.
I know,
It's
they
just like,
think it's
oh, Annie, but you're 70 to write a memoir. It's like,
It was a moment in time. I really wanted to mark. It was the end of a time for me at that time. Sure, of course, I've done a lot of things since then, and I feel like hopefully I'll have more things moving forward. But at that point, I was very much aware that it was somewhat the end of an era for me. And so I had received so much love from people at that time, reflecting on the career that I had before that. I wanted to do it for them. I wanted to do it for myself. I kind of wanted to mark that moment in history. And also, if I'm being honest, I didn't want to forget a lot of shit. I didn't want to forget. I wanted to like really tell the story, get the story out from up to then. But in no way did I feel like it was the end of my career. I just felt like it was a moment in time. I wanted to mark my career, my journey up until that moment.
Yeah.
And then, hopefully another 5 years or 10 years, whatever, we'll do another one and it'll be a whole other story.
Yeah, you've lived a lifetime inside of these
I've lived a life, girl.
Yeah, you have.
For sure.
You have. So I have like cards that have quotes.
You have so many. My quotes?
Your quote.
Holy shit.
Your quote.
Okay.
And so maybe these like, kind of harken back to the moment that you made these, or maybe you might not even recognize them as being your word.
Okay.
This is quotes that Angie Martinez has said over the course of years, written in the book,
I'm scared.
and otherwise. It's all good shit.
Okay, good.
All good shit.
Okay, good.
Every great and lasting art form starts down in the deep bedrock of truth and self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about hip hop music and the culture in general, right? And that's what I always loved about it. Isn't that what we loved about hip hop? Was that whether it was good, bad, ugly, there was things people, you could say all the bad things about it and the language and the this and the that, but the truth is it starts from a place of truth by any means necessary,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as a form of honest expression.
Even I want to like hang an effigy in that.
I mean, whatever it is, whatever it is, I think any true art form, whether you're a painter, an artist, whatever your art form is, even what I do for a living, like at the best, you're finding truth in people's stories, and I think so. Yeah, I do believe that. I think every great art form has to start with some deep truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the underdog theory. Why do we have to knock somebody down to build somebody up?
I hate that. I've always, I love a hip hop battle like everybody else because I like when people are provoked to be better versions or give you their best work. Like when the Jay and Oz battle happened, I felt like Jay provoked Nas to be like to do this, make this masterpiece. So you get that out of a battle, which is really cool. Or we get good music, which is really cool. But I do hate the notion of like, so
There can only be one.
so I'm not allowed to like Nas and Jay anymore. Like why do we do that? That's horrible. Like,
Yeah.
or
And
I'm not allowed to like Nicki and Kim. I'm not allowed to like Foxy and Kim. Like you can't. I always hated that and resented that and that notion. But it's just human nature, I guess.
Well, I want to deviate back to something else. Since you mentioned Foxy and Kim, as a recording,
I'm not sure if sorry, I'm not even sure if that's what I meant by that topic because I don't know if that was out of context. I'm not sure if that's what I meant or if I was talking about how we just not as soon as success happens, you're like not. I don't know. People just can't wait to like.
No, it was about that.
Yeah,
it was definitely about that.
Okay.
But one of the things going back to the whole sexy conversation that I wanted to ask because it was a road. I saw it in my head. I was like, I'm either going this way or I'm going this way. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna just take a right.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna go left.
Okay, go.
Okay, because you are a recording artist at one point. You put out 2 albums.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the sexy conversation. You were amongst women in hip hop that had a overtly sexual image.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel any pressure from like the labels to kind of follow suit or anything like that? Or did you have to fight that off? Did you
No, not at all. And honestly, that's really not all the way true because yes, we had our Foxies and we had our Kims and Trinas and those artists, but we also had Missy and we had Lauryn Hill and we had Left Eye and we had Eves and I felt like yes that was there, but I don't feel like I don't feel like there was one kind of I don't know artist. I don't I didn't I know I never felt that pressure. I mean also I didn't stay doing that long enough to maybe know that maybe that eventually that would have came, but
Yeah.
not for as long as I was doing that music. No.
Yeah, I thought that, again, your honesty when you were talking about the ambivalence of being a recording artist and a media personality and kind of withstanding the criticism of if people didn't receive it, they were like, oh, she sucks.
Mhm.
And if it's a hit, then it's just like, well, where are your priorities kind of thing. Like, it's just at that time, reading the book, you talked a lot about like not being able to offer yourself any kind of grace because nobody criticized you like more than you criticized yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I was always my hardest critic. I'm still to this day.
I was gonna say, have you grown out of that in any way, shape, or form?
Not really. Maybe like a quarter of an inch. Like maybe a hair because I'm self-aware now, which is so that that just makes it better inherently. So, but I'm still my harshest critic because I have a high standard, and it's not just for other people. I have a high standard for myself. Like I don't want to just do something to do something. I want to do something, and I want it to be great, or at least want it to be provoke something in someone, or matter, or cut through the noise of everything else that's going on. So that's like a high standard. That doesn't you can't just throw something out and be like, oh, that's fine. So I kind of like look at it through really harsh lens. Everything I do, I look at through a really harsh lens, which, sometimes people are like, you overthink it, just put it out. This is great. I very rarely listen to that, to that argument.
Name a time where you have hit the mark in terms of your high standards, and name a time where you've missed the mark in terms of your standards.
Ooh. The time that I've hit the mark, I think launching this podcast, I hit the mark, especially at the inception of it. I had this idea, this first interview, it was going to be Lauren London, and I was going to have this deep conversation, and I did, and I feel like it really resonated with people, and it kind of launched the pod. So I feel like I hit the mark there. When I've missed the mark, I think probably like my music career. I probably didn't hit the mark like I could have, probably because of so much fear and so much, how I was going to be perceived. Just being in my head too much when as an artist, that's like a killer. Like you really have to be the actual opposite of that. And I was totally capable of it. But I think I got in my own head a little bit and kind of stunted my growth in a way because of that. So I probably missed the mark a little bit there. But I'm also like I don't even want to say that too much because sometimes I knock that part of my career and then I'll meet somebody who really liked something.
Yeah.
And I feel like I ruin it for them if I'm like, yeah, that was all right. They're like, no, if I could go, it was like my song, and like they have a moment with my career, and I feel like I almost ruin it for them. So I'm like careful not to like bash it too much to be easy on myself. But I definitely feel like had I been out of my own head and not, I could have made something greater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably if I had to.
Is that something that you had to mourn as well?
No, I never felt so emotionally connected to that part of my career or life. It was like a fun thing to try to do. And it was like uncomfortable kind of for me because it wasn't my natural wheelhouse. And then I got pregnant and I was like, okay, we did it. We tried it. That was cool. So I wasn't really missing that so much. So no, I didn't have to mourn that. I kind of let it go. Let that slide. And I really chalked it up as like it was a great experience. I learned a lot. I learned a lot also about music, and I looked at artists differently after that. Got to travel the world. It was great.
I think it's really brave when you step out of your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, especially now. Jeez.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
There's things I'm trying to do now that I'm like
what?
well, I'm like writing, like really writing now. Like I just finished literally. Huh?
Final draft?
Yeah, I use Final Draft for sure. I use Final. I'll use anything I can get. I use Final Draft for script writing, but I'll write in my phone. Wherever I can get the words out. But I wanted to create a story from like inception, imagining it, getting it on paper, writing it, putting it down, funding it, directing it. I really just had this vision of like creating something from beginning to end out of nothing. And seeing it across the finish line. So that is a goal I have for myself this year. And who knows where that lands? That's scary. It's like, I've wanted to direct for a long time. Who knows where that lands? But I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because I have to.
And you started.
I did. I started. I was directing a doc that is not happening anymore. But I am gonna direct the short that I just wrote, and I'm gonna direct. Who knows? I've been shadowing directors quietly. Haven't really been saying anything or posting anything about it, but like I went to Mexico City to shadow Stephen Cable Jr. who did Transformers and Creed 2. Was shooting Man on Fire for Netflix, and he's been really great like sharing information. When you share what you want to do with the right people, it's really beautiful when people show up. Like, how can I help you? Well, let me tell you about this. Well, this is what worked for me. Well, maybe you should do this. So he was one of those people. And then he was shooting Man on Fire and invited me to come shadow him. He's like, we're shooting in Mexico City. I don't know. I was like, oh, what day I'll be there? Just went there by myself. Followed him like a little intern around set. I followed Eve on Finding Castro, movie he's shooting his first film. And so I'm learning stuff now quietly. So I haven't been posting about it or anything, but it's you're learning quiet. Even through all of COVID, all I did was watch classes and 2 master classes on directing and film writing and all that. I'm like, I've watched everything ever made. So I've just been quietly kind of researching and understanding and honing that kind of crap, that thing, 'cause it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
And then who knows where it lands? You don't know. It's scary. But what am I going to do? What do you sit on? You can't sit on stuff. You got to keep growing.
Okay, so after our interview, we went to a spot in Inglewood. We had some dinner. And you told me about a project that was on the QT at the time, but now I think you talk about it every once in a while, but it's also not going to happen. And that was documentary on DJ Clark Kent, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you were directing.
I told you about that night?
You did tell me. You were like, shh, don't say nothing. And I was like, my name is Bennett, and my name is Lee, and I can't see. Like, in one ear, out the other. I got you. Keep secrets, kind of thing. So, God, I want to ask why. He was such a giant in this industry. He was so beloved.
I know.
We lost him too soon.
He's so great. You know what I love about Clark? He's like a purist. When I came in the business, and that's what we fell in love with the culture. It was like there was no money, there was no awards, there was no, nobody was in it. There was no like agendas. It was just like, we love this shit. Oh, you love it too? Oh, how about this? It was such a purity about the love for it that, it gets lost a little bit now because there's so much to gain. So everybody's in it for different reasons. At the beginning of this thing, it was like so much love. And I feel like Clark operated that way. Like, he loved this shit. It wasn't just sneakers and music. And so that's what was exciting. And just, he was my guy. And he's an incredible DJ. And yeah, it's something I learned. So the project is not happening. It was a decision that was beyond my, it wasn't a decision that I made. But I learned a lot.
I was gonna ask, what did you learn during that process as a director?
Yeah. So number one, I learned that not everything is in your control when in this space. Like, so I've talked to other people who do projects, and they're like, yeah, I worked on a film for 6 months, and then the studio canceled it. And then, it's like, unless you're creating it with your own money and it's your own thing, this could happen at any time. So I think this is probably more common than I think, where a project gets greenlit and then it gets pulled. I think people deal with that all the time. It's my first time kind of really to this level of investing like a year's worth of my time into something for it to be like, what?
Yet again, something
It's not happening. Right. Again, I did have to mourn that. I'm like, oh,
in more ways than one.
I had to mourn my friend, losing my friend. And then also I had to mourn, oh, this is not happening. Okay. Oh, I invested this amount of time.
And I'm sure that you invested so much care.
No, my whole soul. Yeah, my whole soul.
That's a lot.
I have to leave that on the table.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so you have to like leave that there and then just keep it moving. But no, that's life. It happens all the time, right? So what are you gonna do? But I did learn a lot of things, just technically as a director and what it would take. And I, I'll take that. I take those lessons with me. But I also take like, I don't know, that nothing is guaranteed. You know what I mean? It was my full intention to get that across the finish line. And it is beyond it wasn't my call. So hopefully down the line, I don't know, something happens and his story does get told, because he does deserve it.
He does.
Okay. So things don't go the way you like. You got to pivot, right? And so I had planned to shoot in the process of just wrapping up something that I wrote myself. Remember, I told you, like, that was the goal anyway. The documentary wasn't supposed to happen. It just kind of, he was a friend. he's had a great story to tell. We got into these conversations.
And he was still alive at the time.
For sure.
That's the thing.
Yes. Oh no.
It wasn't getting hot.
Yeah,
This is that if it's posthumously done. This was like a collaborative effort.
yeah, for
You know, so
sure.
things probably changed after him passing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I had to mourn that is no longer happening.
Yeah.
I had to take stock of what are you going to do now? What's next? But I already had all these projects that were on hold, that I had put on hold, that I wanted to do, and was, working on that. So I just wrote the script. I'm hoping to shoot it by the summer. I'm going to try to find some funding somewhere. I don't even know. I don't know if you're like this, but like when I have a seed of a thing, even though there's like 40 reasons that I could come up with when this doesn't make any sense. Who's going to pay for it? You've never directed. How are you going to convince somebody to give you money for something that is not approved? Like, those are all the things that could creep in my mind for 1 second. And I literally I have a trained mind to let it wash through my brain. Because if it's something I feel in my heart and I feel strongly about, I just go. So I've been writing. I've been writing. I was writing before I came here. I've been writing like somebody with a big check is waiting to give me the check for what I wrote.
You're going to manifest that. It's going to happen. Somebody is waiting with a big check to give you. They just don't know it yet.
But the truth is, I've been creating things for the past year where I don't know where they land in the world, but I have been creating them from a place of just faith.
Yeah.
Right. And so we'll see how that lands for me. I don't know.
That's how you have to go on sometimes.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's your
so
own
stupid.
like wild,
Well, it's 50-50.
insane imagination
No.
and your fucking audacity.
But to go back to our idea of like, you don't know how long life is short.
No.
It's like, I don't ever want to regret not giving something a shot of some idea and I feel all our creatives, it's like God sent, right? Like, so if God sends you an idea or creative, it's like, you got to at least give it a shot to enter the world.
You've got to give it a chance.
Yeah,
You have to give it a chance because what I've also learned is like the longer that you think on an idea, the more you think a hole in your head,
I know.
the more you'll talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
If you
That's
just
why I say you gotta let
shit or get off the pot.
you could think about it and be
Yeah.
realistic, but you also gotta let any type of you gotta just let it wash through you, like come through you. Just let it sit in you.
And it's also really good if you have that dope sounding board that really, really believes in you and your abilities.
Sometimes you don't.
So sometimes you don't.
It's great if you do.
It's great if you do.
Yeah.
And when you do have that sounding board or that team of people who really believe in your abilities and you just don't come off with things off the cuff. Like if you are saying this, it's meaningful and it's worthy of being, kind of like fleshed out.
Yeah.
You're lucky when you have that.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like,
we all want that.
shout out to you, Britt. Hey girl, hey.
Young Britt. Britt is my she produces the podcast with me and she's definitely a sounding board.
Yeah.
She definitely will look me in my face and go, I don't see it.
Those are great.
But I trust her. I trust her opinion. And not to say that it's like an end all. Sometimes I'll be like, nah, you're tripping or whatever. But like for the most part, I think she has a really good sensibility.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not a yes person.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, she's a great person to bounce that off of. And yeah, we do. We all need that, especially me. And I'll ask if I trust your opinion. I'll ask you, even if like I need a couple of people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I trust their opinion.
Yeah.
And I really have known great people over the years. And I do have like a little stash of people. Like even if we don't talk for a long time, I trust this person's opinion. If I'm going through something, I know this I can call this person about this thing. I have the same best friend since I'm 8 years old, literally.
Mm-hmm.
She knows me better than I know myself, literally. I could call her and say, why am I doing this? And she'll go, oh, because you blah, 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 blah. She'll like see it super clear for me. So I've been really lucky. I don't have I keep my circle.
They're small.
My inner circle very small.
Yeah.
I keep my inner circle very small, but I have good friends and I've always been a good judge of character. So I have solid people. Yeah, and I have a good team. I have good people. I don't have a big team. I have a tiny team. Brittany. It's pretty much me and Britt. No, I have other people that help, but like it's a tiny little world. It's okay. You know, we get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Brit. Her name's Rachel. She's right there.
Hi, Rachel.
Brit, right there.
But at the end of the day, life lands on you, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Their lives land on them, our lives land on us. And it's like we're great to have people that we can bounce things off of and help, but like you gotta stay true to what's going on with you and what you feel like you're supposed to be doing in the world. And I strongly feel like that about myself.
You've always seemed to have like really incredible intuition. Like nobody is going to get through life without making missteps in judgment, you know, but you seem to have always had a very strong intuition and a trust in that, whereas most people are afraid to trust their intuition. They second guess themselves. It's just so easy to do so.
Yeah.
But you seem to really listen to that voice in your head that instructs you which direction you're supposed to go in. And that's incredibly valuable.
Super valuable and necessary.
Yeah.
Because you know why? There's a lot of noise in the world. Like there's always opinions around, especially now social. You could look outside for answers to things all day long. And that shit will have you lost and confused and acting out of pocket.
I promise you that she did not read these cards beforehand because I'm going to read you another quote.
Uh-oh. It's probably in line because it's like saying,
girl,
yeah.
there's something that has been a constant in my career, my life, that I've always been aware of, that noise is just noise, good or bad. In these moments, I just try to get quiet and stay focused on whatever matters the most in the long run. And in this quote, you also refer to the middle line. The middle line is...
Yes, I know what the middle line is.
Okay, well, the middle line for y'all is that you take praise and criticism with the same amount, you measure it at the same amount of weight.
Yeah.
It's don't believe your own press, good or bad, because it just...
And other people's opinions on you.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
Good or
Not
bad.
just the bad.
Yeah.
People say, oh, opinions on you don't matter. But then somebody bigs them up and says, oh, you're the greatest ever.
And you're not. You're mediocre. At best.
But even if
at that moment.
No, even if you are great,
Mhm.
it's just like you just can't rely on outside noise to define you because you very easily could get lost in that. People could say, you're the if I just basked in people say, you're the greatest on the radio, then I would never have aspirations to do anything else but radio because I would just that would be so important to me that would be all I would be. You know, it's like you performing for the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So you start performing for the crowd, good or bad. It's like people say, oh, you ain't shit. You waste all that time trying to prove to somebody you could do something. You're performing for the crowd. And if you perform for the crowd too much, it is so easy to lose yourself. And I just am mindful of that. It's hard to be centered and focused. It's really hard if you have other people's voices in your head. And so I'm very grateful when people show love. I truly am. Like, my favorite is like when people read the book or they have a story about, it's very sweet. But I don't, it's not something that I don't put my personal happiness and value in other people's perception of me. Because somebody on one block could think I'm the greatest thing. And then on the next block, they could say she ain't shit.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like try to
even keeled with it.
I just try to, yeah.
One of the things that I liked most about your book and just you in general is you have this ability to be so objective even when it comes to you. It's almost like I picture you standing outside yourself or standing outside of any situation and just being completely observant of what is happening and not having like really any like kind of like emotional reaction to it. You're just simply like observing. Like there was a moment in your book where you were talking about the Puerto Rican Day Parade and where you discovered that your popularity had crossed over into reverence. You know, like where people like revered you. You were no longer just this figure.
I mean, it freaked me out.
You now realize that you shared your popularity and likability and all the things that made you you. You shared them with everybody who saw themselves in you, who came from where you came from. But still, you maintained that ability to stand outside of yourself and observe the whole situation and get it and pay it back to the people who made you you. Whereas most people, a lot of people don't do that. They're just like, oh, that's me all day. You know, I'm great. I'm fabulous.
No, I don't believe none of the hype at all.
Yeah.
I just look at that as like, number one, I'm blessed to do what I do. Number two, I know what you feel like. I was a kid at the Puerto Rican Day Parade that watched Eric Estrada from Chips is going by and thinking, oh my God, this person is so great. You know, I know what that feels like. And I also know I don't know Eric Estrada. He could be a piece of shit for all I know. I'm just saying, so I know what that feels like to be on the other side of it. So if I represent something for you, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
But I also know that's just all it is for you. You're gonna go on about your life. I'm gonna go on about my life. Hopefully, I can inspire you again or motivate you again, and that's cool. But I don't take too much self-importance in that. It's humbling, you know. It's nice, but uh, is that weird? Like, does
No.
that make sense? Like, oh, you know,
No. I think that when
like I see you, baby. I see that you see me.
Yeah.
You see yourself in me, and I love that. That's great.
No.
But I'm not. I don't leave that feeling that I don't leave that interaction feeling like I'm the shit. I don't feel like that. I feel like, wow, that was dope. We had that moment together. That's how I feel inside. You know
I
what I mean?
believe that to be the healthiest reaction that you can have to something like that because, you know, it's just
Also, my level of fame is not that high. Let's not act like it's really not.
you're tripping.
No, I'm not. You're from here. Well, you're not from here. I know you're from Canada, but like
25 years. I'm
you're
on
culture with me. You're here, so you are a part of this like subculture that I have been in for a very long time. So they're very close to me. The people we're talking about, right? There's like a whole world outside of that that doesn't give a shit about me. Let's be honest. Just being honest. No, trust me. I live in the world. I know there's people that be like, "Oh yeah, you're the girl from the radio." Like, there's a whole slew of people in the world could care less about my contributions, what I'm trying to do, and I'm very aware of that.
You keep things into perspective.
I keep it
for yourself.
intimate. I also have never cured cancer. I have also never done.
I know but you know, I also tried to stay a runaway care.
I'm not trying to downplay the work I've done, and I'm very proud of myself in that way. I'm not trying to downplay the connection I've had, especially to this city and to the culture. I appreciate it. I know, or to radio. I have traveled, so I've met other radio people in radio who my career has done something for them. I am not trying to downplay that. I'm proud of it. I love that, but I also don't, you know. I mean,
You don't blow smoke up your own ass.
I don't blow smoke up my ass. You know, like I've had a good career.
Yeah.
I've tried to do right by people. People have responded. Some people have responded to that. I am grateful for that interaction. I have shit I want to do still moving forward. That's where I'm at. Like I'm not gloating in some like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Some pocket of like,
No, I think that one of the things that I also love very much about you is because you're really pragmatic. You know?
okay, baby.
Yeah.
You too, by the way.
I'm Canadian. It's literally
Is that a thing?
yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Angie has this urge, and I get it.
What? To take over the
to take
conversation?
over.
And everything you ask me, I want to ask you back something. But I'm trying not to be the host and just be the guest.
It's okay. It's okay. We're in bizarro world. Like, the fact that I'm interviewing you right now, some things, but yeah,
It's my nature to
no,
throw it back.
listen, I'm interviewing somebody off my Mount Rushmore.
Oh, please.
And one of them I'll never be able to interview because she's dead, you know, Barbara Walters. So I still got Christian Ampur and Oprah. So it's a race to the finish line as to who gets her first.
Okay.
But you've already kind of sort of interviewed her. But you want to ask me something like about being like in the boys' world now.
Yeah, because you said something earlier about like that you always looked at yourself
Through the male gaze.
through the male gaze.
And it took a lot of therapy for me to correct that.
But to me, you always seem like, I don't know, you see, like I said, I didn't know you back in the day.
She's a really good actress.
But you seem like a girly girl to me. Whereas I was always like a tomboy, right? I was always like it wasn't weird for me to be around a lot of guys because I was like that even as a kid. I was playing handball. I was hanging out I was always comfortable around dudes and not in a not in a
Yeah.
they wanted to get with me. I wanted
Like
to get.
they're the homies. Like
Yeah.
they were really
I had.
big brothers, all that thing.
I was a tomboy. I did all the, I like to play pool and, all the things that the boys like to do. So, but now you're like, you play with the boys every day. Sometimes I watch these clips. I'm like, yo, they're killing. She's dying inside right now. And I know Joe very well. So I don't know the rest of the guys as well, but yeah, you're like, is that just work or is that in your life? Because I still have a lot of guys in my life.
Yeah.
Like a lot. So I have great friendships with a lot of men that are, people are like, you're friends with that guy? And I'm like, I am. I love them.
I withstand a lot of criticism being in that space.
Mm.
There's so many people that think that they could do my job better than me. They do not understand the layers. It is a fucking onion in which what I have to, the mental gymnastics that I have to employ simply by being the only woman in the room. I am there to answer for every single woman on the planet. Like anytime there's something happening with women, it's like, Mel. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Fuck. Sometimes I feel like men's automatic reaction to hearing a woman speak, the default is to regard us with skepticism at best. And at worst, it's like, you're fucking wrong. I don't want to hear it. They can't process information coming from us. But let a man say the exact same thing that I just said. They'd be like, no way. That's so introspective and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I just fucking said the same fucking thing. I just said the same thing. But I've had to come to terms with men speak men, women speak women, but guess what? Since patriarchy is a thing, we speak men too, because we have to.
Yeah.
We've had to learn to speak man. Meryl Streep said this. So if Meryl Streep said it, it's a fucking thing.
She's like, my goat. As I've gotten older, I've appreciated my relationship with women more because we need each other.
Yeah.
Right? There are things that happen that we only can understand. There are emotions that happen that we need to communicate with each other. And so I've learned to value my relationships with women as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
Young me, I was like a tomboy. I liked to hang out with guys. Like I said, I was the girl that was with all the dudes at the park playing handball, and I was like, I was always in the like put in the friend, the sister category, the little sis or whatever. And when I came into this business, there were a lot of guys that I became friends with and helped me, supported me through different phases of my career. And so I don't know. I don't know. I don't look at it so much in that way. And I don't know. I wonder what that is. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know what that says about me. I mean, it's not like I'm comfortable around guys. Are you comfortable around guys though, aren't you? Or not all the way?
I'm comfortable around guys. I just learned a lot about them over the course of the last 2 years that I really did not know about them. Because for me, the way I introduced myself to the world, guys were like on their best behavior. They sent their representatives and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So to be an interloper, at a pod with
So that's the difference.
a bunch of guys.
When I came into it,
Yeah.
I'm sitting at
You're sitting at the table, like you're welcomed at the table. For me, it's more
so
like
I had the chance of
they adjust to my presence and sometimes forget that I'm there, kind of thing. And then I hear the way that they communicate with each other, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Right. Where I've been hearing that. So I've been hearing that when I've been hearing that language my whole life.
Right. And I never heard that stuff before.
Right.
And it's wild.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
I've learned I've learned a lot about them that has been sometimes endearing. Sometimes it's been like,
Do you have brothers? You don't have any brothers.
well, that's weird. In a stepbrother situation, like dad was a Rolling Stone.
Got it. But not that you're.
I didn't live with siblings. I wish that I did. It seems like it was like a really great party, but I never, I never lived with siblings, and it it's just it sucked. Okay, so listen, we're gonna wrap shit up because you're gonna come back though, because look at all these cards. I have all.
I'm so sorry for your card.
Right, super fast. There's more quotes. And there's women in media, there's relationships, there's there's all this stuff. But we literally stuck our toe in the water of everything that's what's in here. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this up with like a rapid fire.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Yes. Come on over, Rob. Yeah, come on.
It's your time to
Time to
shine.
shine, babe. All right.
Hey, give a wave. Give a wave. Hilarious.
I thought I put this on a card, but I didn't. Okay. You were.
Let's get moment in life.
This is the rapid fire. Clap it up, everybody. Let me get in.
Let me get a stint square. Let me go. Hey, come on, give it to me.
Okay. Breaking the news first or landing the exclusive interview?
Landing the exclusive interview.
Bacon, egg, and cheese or chopped cheese?
Difficult, hard-hitting question.
Rapid fire.
Chopped cheese.
Okay. Interviewing icons, legends, or discovering the next
Only
big
because
thing?
bacon, sometimes I'm not really a pork girl. And sometimes when I do bacon, egg, and cheese, I want a turkey bacon and it doesn't really hit the same.
It doesn't hit the same unless you yell at Trader Joe's turkey bacon. But,
Okay,
yeah.
Whatever. But anyway, carry on.
Okay, all right. Interviewing icons, legends, or discovering the next big thing? I know where you are right now.
I think icons, legends right now.
Yes. All right. Winter in Tim's or summer in Air Force Ones?
Summer Air Force Ones all day.
Okay. I have never owned a pair in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm really off them. I really haven't been wearing them like that. But I just like summer and the sneaker.
I'm not a sneaker.
I've been wearing Vomeros or like, running sneakers lately.
I just got a pair of Loewe's. Okay.
Loewe sneakers?
Yeah.
That's not really a sneaker.
I know it's not. Their shoe was a rubber on the bottom.
Yeah, it's not a sneaker.
Okay. I was trying to be fashionable because people keep like making fun of me on the pod. I was like, yo, I'm not a fucking sneakerhead, you motherfuckers. All right. Summer Jam or the Tunnel back in the day?
Oh, for sure, the Tunnel.
Right. I missed that era. I got here just when it ended.
And Summer Jam though was a whole different experience when it was what it was.
Yeah.
It was special.
Yeah. This is.
I just say the Tunnel because it's more like,
Yeah. I know.
it just represents the times.
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's epic. It's like did you ever go to Chaos?
It was also scary. Let's be honest. People don't talk about that. The Tunnel was scary.
No, because that's what happens when you're like in a moment of like nostalgia. You forget all the fucked up shit where you're just like you had to keep your keys in your hand,
Right.
and you might have gotten the key, the
little
like,
key sticking out.
the stick and move.
Yeah, for sure.
People forget that part when it comes to nostalgia. It's like, oh my god, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feared for my life many times.
So many times. So many times. That's a whole other interview. Okay. Radio or podcasting?
Ooh. To me, it's the same thing. So it's very hard to answer that. It's really no difference. What the hell are you talking about? It's a conversation. I don't understand why people think podcasting is some brand new thing. But
Want to know why?
Why?
Want to know why it's different?
Why?
Because there's so many fucking people that should never have a mic underneath their fucking chin in podcasting, but in radio,
Let's say some people in radio that should have a
but in
mic.
radio, there's kind of a vetting process, a little bit. There's a vetting process.
Yeah, to me, they're the same.
Okay. Well, you would know because you're Angie motherfucking Martinez.
To me, they're the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's now in 2025.
Your preference after having mastered.
Yeah. Also, I have two different lanes that I'm able to do both things, right? And I know this is not a rapid fire answer, but it's really not it's like I'm able to do certain things on radio that I'm not able to do on my podcast and vice versa. And so my podcast conversations are a little more adult, a little more just deeper, and we have more time, more stretched out, whereas radio we lean into like newer artists and current topics and, things that are trending and things like that. So there's a lane for both.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, but it's the same skill set. Let's be honest. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Last question. It's not even rapid fire, but it's just last question before we end everything.
I've been doing podcasts since the 90s, just so we're clear.
Before podcasting was podcasting.
Yeah, I was doing podcasting on the radio. Yeah,
Same thing. Yeah, same thing. So who do you love right now?
What do you mean?
Like artist-wise, who do you love
I don't
right
know that I have a list for you of people I love right now.
off the
I do love Doechii, and the reason I love her is that I think when we talked about like how everybody's like affected by, charts, awards, accolades. I just feel like she's such a true artist. I love when a true artist comes along like that I feel like she's going to do what her spirit is telling her to do. And to me, that's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what's coming next from an artist like that. That's how somebody kind of breaks through, and so she's exciting to me. I have so much respect for artists who are able to still be free and in their own space and in their own mind and being kind of honest with what they have to give, because it is scary. It's like walking on a minefield out here. You say one wrong thing, it's like, okay, great career, glad it lasted a year and a half. Today it's over. And we're watching that happen with a lot of people. A lot of people getting canceled. A lot of people, saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. It's a scary time to be a public figure.
Yeah.
And so I think it hurts the art too, man. I think it just stunts the growth of a lot of artists because they're walking around scared, and
I agree.
it's just a shitty way to create with that kind of glare on you that at any moment anything you say is going to be like the end of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a horrible condition to create in.
Yeah.
And so anybody who can kind of cut through that and still make great art and still be true to themselves, it's like I'm inspired by that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
She
when,
figured it out.
and when, deep in the bedrock of like truth. I see what you did there. I see what you did. It's a little bit of a callback on that note. And
You're great, baby. So you're doing your own podcast now. I love this for you.
I am.
Thank you for having
So I
me.
had to have you on because you are part of the inspiration of this.
Thank you, my
You
love.
helped lead me to feeling empowered enough to do this on my own. This was one of the most incredible gets that I could ever ask for.
Really? That's so sweet.
It is. You have been so many things to so many people. People have like followed your career and seen themselves in you in so many different ways. And you're so humble that it just doesn't like kind of live inside of your head. But like you should regularly be given your flowers.
Thank
And
you.
for me, that's what this is me giving you taking the opportunity to give you all of the flowers. I just love you so much. And I feel very, very grateful that you sat with me. And I know that my audience is like really, really happy with what we've just talked about. That you dropped so many gems, hon.
Did I?
You did.
I saw it. So I'm like, what? Okay.
No, you did. And I know you've been editing the whole time in your fucking brain.
I know.
Fine.
Yeah, that's god awful. I have to stop doing that.
It's
So I
okay.
will say though, I'm super proud of you. You pushed through. You got this done. I'm so happy you found a great name that works for your pod, and I'm so happy that you were open to criticism and critique or just a
Constructive
constructive
criticism from somebody who
criticism.
like loves and values me.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm glad you didn't take it any bad way, and
Not at all.
I'm happy that you're pushing through. I think this season's gonna be amazing for you.
It is going to be amazing because you were a part of it. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you all so much for joining me on another episode of Hot and Bothered with Melyssa Ford.
Such a good name.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Thank you for tuning into Hot and Bothered with Melyssa Ford. Please rate, subscribe, and comment, and share wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This season of Hot and Bothered with Melyssa Ford is hosted, written, and executive produced by me for Forged Path Productions. This episode was written and produced by Sebastian Godin. Filming and editing of this episode is done by GVI Films and executive produced by Rachel DeSalvo.